You are welcome to HN What's Your Say? The #1 listening show where we discuss real issues with real people like you. We are still featuring R. Kelly. Real name Robert Sylvester Kelly. Also known as the R&B King. In a recent video publication, we did inform you about a strange judicial ruling that suggested R. Kelly accuser Heather Williams comes first in queue before his former studio landlord in gaining access to his royalties currently held by Sony, in a $4 million settlement following a default win that was granted to her only because R. Kelly was unable to appear in court at the time she sued back in 2019. This bad act accuser that goes by the name Williams in an attempt to extort the R&B King like many other accusers have done strategically waited for R. Kelly's arrest back in 2019. And filed a case against him knowing well the pressure from the other indictments would overwhelm him, and that he would fail to show up in court to defend himself. Meanwhile, this was also a time when the world was dealing with the first episode of the COVID-19 pandemic, a situation that made it quite impossible for an inmate to attend court. As always, the ever-complacent court sided with the plaintiff and granted an automatic win against R. Kelly, as though they could not see the reasons why he couldn't be available for this court process, and against this win also came automatic restitutions to a tune of $4 million, an amount so many do not make in their lifetime of hard work. The court demanded that R. Kelly pays this sum of money by granting Heather Williams unlimited access to his music royalties currently held by Sony, but again she wasn't the only complainant targeting this avenue of collection. This stalled the compensation process as court needed to determine who goes first in the R. Kelly rip-off program. Only a few days back, after the Brooklyn federal court judge Ann Donnelly and the Chicago judge Lionel Weber were done with their roles in destroying R. Kelly's career and legacy, we then come to learn that an appeal court ruling had granted Heather Williams the opportunity to go first in receiving her said compensation. We are talking $4 million, money earned overnight with no real work done save for filing a case against the R&B King. This is exactly what R. Kelly referred to when he sarcastically said, "When you want some quick money, sue R. Kelly," in a video that trended all over the internet. R. Kelly's attorney Jennifer Bonjean immediately pledged to fight this act of corruption and to have this ruling reversed through a petition, citing that her client's inability to appear in court was due to his incarceration at that time when he was dealing with multiple indictments by the federal government. This is exactly how these women were strategically ripping R. Kelly off over the years when they hired mafia attorneys such as Susan Loggins, to threaten R. Kelly into paying compensations that were later disregarded by the federal court as if to say the federal government is at war with the states. Thankfully today we woke up to yet another impressive piece of news that suggested the automatic win court had granted accuser Heather Williams has been tossed out the window, and that she has been advised to file a fresh lawsuit where the defendant can now avail himself, considering he is done with the two major cases in New York and Chicago. At a hearing by a circuit court of Cook County yesterday, the judge duly vacated the $4 million default judgment order against R. Kelly, finding it void for lack of notice, and the petition was granted. This is yet another moment of truth where R. Kelly has been granted a little bit of justice, and another indicator that it is indeed possible that all judgments against R. Kelly has been made with utter prejudice arising either from bad publicity by the surviving R. Kelly docuseries, or envy of the highest degree. Supporters and fans of R. Kelly believe this will not be the last of anti-Kelly judgments to be vacated for a lack of proper due process. While the New York judgment was issued with no backing evidence, the Chicago case was in itself an act of double jeopardy that returned the 2008 case to trial, and yet there was no evidence found to prove that R. Kelly had in any way interfered with the first. In fact, his co-accused Daryl McDavid and Milton June Brown were both duly acquitted, and it was determined that there was no obstruction of justice in 2008. Why the very same case would again be retried, it's difficult to tell. According to CK, paying off a few millions to Kelly wouldn't prove too much for Sony if they had not banned his music. The act of muting R. Kelly alone means his catalog is no longer making as much money as it should. So even if these complainants were given full access, I doubt they would get much from its future earnings. They ought to unmute the R&B King if they hope to get anything off him, these shameless extortionists. According to Kathleen Caldwell, hearing of this accuser Heather Williams made me realize that robbing from R. Kelly has become a core business for some of these accusers. First the cluster of charges and now they want his royalties as well? This is yet another attempt to rob from Robert like Sony and the government have already done. R. Kelly has been treated with total injustice all for his money, and it's now clear to the world that he has been set up and lied on with the primary goal of locking him up for the rest of his life and stealing his music catalog. One may wonder how his catalog would be taken away from him. Remember, Michael Jackson did own so much music and shares in Sony, but immediately after his death, his family was compensated by Sony to a tune of $500 million for what was worth billions. According to Martin Hunter, if anyone hasn't noticed a pattern yet in taking down African American celebrated figures in this country, they are not looking closely. First Bill Cosby, then R. Kelly and later Kanye West. The list is endless. Earlier we had Mike Tyson, then DMX, Whitney Houston, the list is again endless. All taken down suddenly with no prior warning. It's a mission to silence us and leave us voiceless in this country, and this is a major threat on our community. The saddest part of all is that it's our own people being used against us, as was the case during the undesirable history of slavery, when our own leaders sold us to strangers in exchange for small worthless gifts and guns. Today it's in exchange for jobs and power. If you turn down your own like Kim Fox has done, you are rewarded with power in exchange. If you wish to take part in a live interview on this channel discussing any of these topics, let us know by emailing us on sashahnnewsroom@gmail.com for scheduling. That is all we had for you today on HN What's Your Say? To keep updated whenever we post a new video, subscribe to this channel now. Also remember to hit the bell icon and enable notifications. And feel free to share your opinions with us in the comment section below, and let us know if you would like us to publish your views in our next release. We value all our subscribers' opinions.